I couldn't particularly bring myself to making a match reaction yesterday to the preseason game between us and Manchester United. It's a weird game. There's a lot of things I couldn't put my finger to and explain exactly how it unraveled in that sense. But let's try today to actually go a little bit further into it and see why we got the result and how and why we played as disjointed as we did. Welcome once again to another episode of 18 Yard Box. It's a it's a great moment to be an Arsenal fan, and it's particularly interesting to be humbled. I don't think there's an Arsenal fan out there that thought going into a game in a preseason game with we thinking that we had advanced by our fitness level into a preseason game against Manchester United that we're gonna lose. Get me somebody out there that said or predicted, oh, as an Arsenal fan, I think we're gonna lose this game. No, we said like worst case scenario, we get a draw. Especially when the team sheet came out and we saw very young players like Mino playing in midfield, Casemiro and Rashford on the bench, and we playing with like at least 80% of our first teamers were starting that game. But for some reason, we played poorly, and we played poorly not in the game states. We played poorly because most of the principles that's gotten us thus far weren't able to repeat them, weren't able to be consistent with those principles. And Ramsey, for example, his passes were wayward. It was weird. The simple passes, he couldn't pick them easily. He was a little bit slow to the ball, two, three touches that are unnecessary. And playing Timber and Tomiyasu felt weird in terms of the balance of the shape of the team. My expectation was Timber was going to talk in and Tomiyasu was going to talk inside. Neither happened. Most of the game, Timber was on a straight line in more almost like a more advanced attacking fullback, almost like a wing back. While Tomiyasu was flat, but it was stuck to his line, almost to the byline, almost like a Tierney as a left back. So what that means is there's a huge amount of space between Declan Rice and Declan Rice, Havertz, and Odegaard. Havertz played so advanced, and Odegaard played so withdrawn, right? Typically, the Xhaka role, Havertz played so advanced the way Xhaka played last season. But the difference was the trigger for the press. It's almost like we've never played together, this group of players. So when it comes to the trigger for the press, you see an Engetia go to press, Havertz won't support, or Havertz goes to press, Eddie won't support. There's always moments of not pressing properly throughout the game, especially the first 60 minutes. Our press was poor. We allowed Tom Eaton, a dinosaur of a goalkeeper. He was practically playing like it was Frank Beckenbauer. Yeah. And the other side of our game, when it comes to how we build up play, it was just poor. We we made or we left the Rice too isolated in the midfield. Maybe we've gotten used to Partey dominating the midfield by himself, like dominating. You know how Partey plays is, but Partey is just a dominant midfielder. He's an incredible football player, and I'm just glad that all this talks of trying to get Partey out is quickly winning. It's idiotic in every sense of the word. As you can see on my little piece of tactical board here, trying to explain what was happening yesterday was we had Tomiyasu right here, so close to the byline on the defensive side. So typically you have Gabriel and Saliba right here, and Tomiyasu is usually in between here on a narrow straight line constantly throughout the game. And you have Timber almost like around this area. It wasn't particularly tucking in, it was stretched, right? And Saka somewhere here, right? You have your Kai Havertz. It's not number 10, I know, but bear with me. Kai Havertz somewhere here and Martinelli here. So typically, how we build up play with Zinchenko is, and which was mainly people keep forgetting, right? Zinchenko is one of the biggest reason why Thomas Partey and Odegaard have the time they have on the ball. If you know anything about football, you would understand the fundamental role of Zinchenko in our system. Zinchenko is an amazing, amazing footballer for what we're trying to achieve, right? So typically, you have Zinchenko here, tucked in tight alongside Thomas Partey. And the great thing about Zinchenko is he's able to carry the ball inwards, infield, a difficult skill set. There's not a lot of footballers that are defenders that can do that. He's one of the best in the world at that particular attribute. What that does is when Zinchenko goes inwards, typically Xhaka comes outwards. So Xhaka is always like a wing back around here. Then if Xhaka comes here, you get like people like Martinelli come inwards to combine. So Xhaka is on the outside, a strong player with a very incredible engine, and you have Saka wide and Ben White somewhere around here. So what you have is you have dominance in midfield, right? You have your striker combining with Odegaard. They are always in close proximity around this area of the pitch. But the consequence of that is Saliba and Gabriel get to do an incredible amount of work, right? They get to run and cover this huge amount of space. They're very capable of it, and sometimes we might be susceptible to really, really bad counterattacks. We had a couple of them throughout the season. Ollie Watkins goal against us. We had was it the Son run against Tottenham? We had Rashford. Once you beat this Zinchenko Partey axis, typically what you beat them with is a lumped ball over the top. You don't need to do too much. Lump the ball over the top. Once one of these two players can't deal with it, it's done. Right? Yesterday when we tried to press, the main problem was for our build-up sake, Tomiyasu was always here, Timber was here. So you have Declan Rice that is just absolutely isolated in the midfield. When he receives the ball, it's either it goes this way, goes back, or goes sideways. He's never able to progress the ball effectively. Why? Because this guy right here is supposed to be right here. And I'm not blaming Tomiyasu, right? I'm saying, was he a tactical situation that Mikel, because of Anthony's threats, didn't want Tomiyasu venturing a little bit towards midfield? Because typically he did that against Salah when we won 3-2 at Anfield. Because of Salah, he played Tomiyasu, and Tomiyasu is a right-footed centre back, more or less, who is able to defend efficiently against a left-footed player, because Salah is predominantly left-footed and he wants to go inward so he can take a shot, right? And Anthony is even worse. Anthony is more left-footed than any player I know. His right is a walking stick. So you have Tomiyasu staying so close to Anthony because Anthony likes to hug the line, but he wasn't effective in the sense that he stops our build-up play, and it means we can't advance the ball to people, the difference makers, the Sakas, the Odegaards, the Martinelli. That is one side of the game that we fail to capitalize upon. The other side of the game that we fail to capitalize upon is our pressing. There is a total miscommunication between Havertz and Edin Ketia yesterday, right? In the sense that if Eddie presses, Havertz has to go, and Havertz is typically the trigger. Our trigger for press last season was Gabriel Jesus and Martin Odegaard. But for the game yesterday, our trigger for a press was Havertz um, and Eddie. They are the two most advanced players. But there is a total lack of communication between these two players. Maybe as they play more games together, they're gonna get better. But the experiment with the Havertz, Rice, and Odegaard situation is either going to need more attention and more games together, more training. As Mikel said, that by the time they play 55 games together, they're going to understand each other better and they will give more outstanding performance. But I don't think Arsenal fans have the patience for 55 games. 55 games is a whole season. It's a whole season of Premier League, Champions League, Carling Cup, FA Cup. But I don't think it literally means that, oh, they need to play 55 games together to establish that understanding. I mean, in the meantime, before they establish the understanding, ideally, what most Arsenal fans want to see is Partey as a lone six, Odegaard as advanced as he needs to be. Um, I would get a Declan Rice, which is number 41. Just bear with me. Right here, closer to Partey to combine. So when you have Zinchenko coming here, you have a closer midfield. The passing lanes are more open, right? And what that means is you have a Declan Rice who is one of the best players in defensive transitions in the world. So he can cover up the defensive lapses in this left area of the pitch that he absolutely favors. But if you're insisted on just throwing Kai in, who has never played this role, when it's time to learn this role, I think we're setting him up for failure. I believe this is a signing that can work, but we need to also be careful not to make the fans to turn on Kai quickly, because if he has failed performances and if the fundamentals when it comes to defensive side of his game is not expressed immediately, the fans can quickly turn. So it's a balancing game. It's delicately poised for him to be able to make the kind of impact that we want from a 65 million pounds footballer. So also Eddie, I don't know. I don't know if Eddie's ever gonna make it at Arsenal. I think he needs to play in a team that plays him consistently. I think the case of Eddie might be similar case of Gabriel. Gabriel Magalhaes needs to play every time, right? He's that kind of player. He gets rusty easily. If he gets injured, I don't know, throughout his Arsenal career, he hasn't had a lot of injuries. When he comes back from injury, it looks rusty. Saliba came back from what 3 months out. He looks incredible. Like he just looks on phase, turning into midfield, holding up the ball, clearing the ball, heading the ball. But Gabriel, like he needs to play. Like his first 2 months every season for him is always shaky. Then he just gets into this groove that is just immense. But those 2 months are so shaky that most people judge him based on those two very shaky months. But once he gets into that groove, where his first touch is good, where he passes out from the back easily, where he's monstrous, then he becomes an incredible asset for us. So I don't think this is something that you can coach. You can't coach that twist in somebody's brain that just says, "Oh, you need to turn it on now." I just think he doesn't have it. So he needs games. I think that might be the situation with a player like Eddie Nketiah. Maybe on not on that Gabriel level in terms of talent, but Eddie is a player that we've seen that when you give him a run of games with confidence that knowing that he's gonna play, he scores more goals, he gets more involved. It will never be a pressing machine like Gabriel Jesus. It will never be a skillful player of that level like Gabriel Jesus. It's quite obvious. But he's a very, very useful player for um an average Premier League team or from teams from like 8, 9 to like 15. He's gonna be a very good striker for them, especially if you create chances. He's a very, very decent goal scorer. I don't know if he's gonna make it. Maybe we bin Eddie if there's an offer for him and give Balogun a chance at the team. But for Kai, Arteta needs to make a decision to manage him properly. To take him out of the firing line before it becomes an issue. I see that he's tried a couple of players in that eighth row, the advanced eighth row. He's tried Trossard in preseason. I'm expecting him to try Smith Rowe there. I think even Jorginho can play there, but it's just a different style when he plays in that role. We have enough players in the attacking zone to create chaos, but we need to get the ball to them. You need to be able to build up properly. So Timber and if Timber plays, he needs to learn that inverted role the way or a similar way that Zinchenko plays it. Everybody have their style of play. They need to be closer to the midfield. If our two eights are gonna push up so advanced, you can't leave your six so alone in midfield, expecting it to do all the work. Everybody is not Thomas Partey. That's why I'm so against Thomas Partey leaving. Nobody, no player in the Premier League can play that role the way he plays it. It's different. Maybe Rodri, but that line breaking pass that Thomas Partey just in between the line, him and Zinchenko, always they get the ball to Odegaard, Saka, and Xhaka in advanced area, right? So typically it's almost like we're playing three player at the back, then we have Thomas Partey and Zinchenko right here. Yeah, you're gonna have your Xhaka from last season, your Odegaard, and your Saka. So advanced. See, Partey he breaks the line. You see Zinchenko breaking the line. So now you're having 5 against 5 or 5 against 4. So it gives us more impetus in attack and it sustains our attack more consistently. I believe I want to watch a game against Barcelona where the players have been drilled properly to put pressure, to play with that intensity, to be fit. Because it looks like we're a little bit off our fitness because so many players are in different stages of preseason. And I want to see Thomas Partey. I want to see Thomas Partey, Declan Rice, Martin Odegaard, midfield. I want to start seeing our Premier League team in terms of our starting lineup. Hopefully, Mikel can fix this issue and we can come back stronger. I think we're gonna have Barcelona, then I think Monaco, then we'll play Community Shield, and then the Premier League resumes. So we have 3 games to get it right. 2 games because we want to win the Community Shield. Is a trophy. It goes into your laurels that's counted for you. So we might as well try and win it. So we want to say Thomas Partey, Declan Rice, and Martin Odegaard midfield. Then we introduce Havertz into that system steadily without the added pressure. It's shown that the pressure got to him while at Chelsea. We don't want to turn the fan against a player that is also like is misaligned, is being misused. He hasn't had a history of being used properly. It looks like his confidence is short. And we're trying to build his confidence back up. Thank you guys for having me. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video and remain positive. The season has not even begun. All that negativity on Twitter and all those spaces. Nah, don't bring it here. Don't bring it here. We're building a team, we're building a squad, and we have to put our faith in our management. That's the only way to go. Goodbye and stay blessed. Have a lovely weekend. Bye.